Okay, guys, turn 6, impulse 1 is just over. So Italy counterattacked, pushed them back into Tobruk, resupplied the entire front. These guys pulled back in tactical movement because they were out of supply, just to make sure they didn't take supply attrition. Those guys underneath there are British units. But this is basically how the Tobruk front works. We're just trying to get past these guys. We got those guys, the trucks are coming up, but we got a big kill stack there. This stack right here is the big kill stack for Germany. So we're going to see what happens going into Impulse 2. Okay, we're back. Turn 6, end of second impulse. So the Italians push them back into the perimeter. Germany's got their guys coming up here, their MSUs. We finally got into this dang port with supplies and everything. We got some replacements coming in from way back there. But up here, we attacked them. Pushed them back. We're trying to create a pocket here, trying to get some of these guys out of supply. But obviously Britain's now, they know what's going on. The jig is up. So Germany's just trying to protect that 4th victory point city there. But yeah, so this is where we stand at the end of the second impulse. Okay, guys, we're back at the end of turn 6. So I'm putting the blue cubes up there to just reflect when I took the victory points. So you can see I took 4. Okay. So here's where we stand. The British now are coming over, trying to stop this thing. We're coming up into here. We're isolating the port of Bardia. The Italians have finally, really got in, but we're going to build a fort up here. So we're going to start building some forts. Now, the last impulse, I actually just did tactical. So I could get a supply point up into Dhaka, and Dhaka is right here. That's where Rommel is sitting at right now. So Bryce and I were just discussing the game. When it comes to how do you win North Africa as the German player? And Bryce, you're obviously, I want your input here because it will be insightful. So right now I'm sitting at +2 victory points. That right there is the 4th airfield. So every turn I'm gaining a victory point from here on out until he takes it. Okay. Then it comes back to this one because everything on the victory point chart is 3. So as Bryce and I were discussing, it's almost like Germany needs to solidify up here and then go totally defensive and stop the British for the rest of the game. And just hold on as long as we can. What do you think, Bryce?
Well, the way this game works, you can kind of look at the victory points as almost like ante or in poker, or small blind, big blind. So essentially, all Germany needs to quote unquote win the game is have at least 1 positive victory point. Well, he's got 4, and if you just look at the historical, it's 3 until turn 18. So as long as he holds this space, he's going to get 1 victory point a turn. Now, strictly speaking, his ability to get an auto victory is not likely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You get 10 more. He's at 2, so he would have to hold the board the way it is
for 10 turns.
All the way until turn 18, basically.
Yeah.
Which isn't likely. But he doesn't, to win the game, he just has to have a positive amount of victory points. So
that's true, even a +1.
It basically, like in poker terms, it's forcing action. I have to take this back. And then not only that puts us back at 3, but he'll just hold, every turn he would just hold at whatever victory points he's at. So I have to take that back, but eventually I got to get to here too. So I got to take a minimum of 2. Now, the longer it takes me to take these 2 puts this guy in importance, because then I gotta have at least a -1 to start bringing some of those victory points back. So if you're the German player right now, you could make the argument that to win the game as it stands now, you just need to hold this hex for as long as you can and hold this hex as long as you can. But really, like attacking in Tobruk, what's the point? You just need to make sure that you hold supply. That's it.
And that's like what Bryce was saying that last turn. We didn't really go into that. Where that fortification marker is, that is the linchpin of supply for the Axis forces. That is the square. Unless you want to do these MSU things, which I had to do for like 2 impulses, which is highly annoying. But where that fortification is, that is the linchpin supply hex, basically. Continue, Russ.
But yeah, if you're just looking at the board the way it is now, really all Germany needs to do, they don't really need to keep attacking. It's unlikely that they're going to get beyond here. I mean, they could do it, but it's unlikely. But really all they need to do is...
One thing I will point out here is Bryce and I were looking through that stack. That's basically a supply stack.
Yeah.
If I could actually break through and get to that hex and take it...
Yeah.
I could get a lot of extra supply.
Well, you can get a lot of extra victory points. So,
well, I'm looking at it from a supply perspective.
Because at the end of the day, the game is about victory points. And
that is true.
So, it would increase his likelihood of getting an auto victory. But the thing that I just find interesting about the victory points in this game is it's like a big blind. It's in poker. It's forcing action. I can't, as the British player, I can't just sit on my laurels. I gotta figure out a way to get some of these victory points back. And so I have to start counterattacking now. I can't just, I don't know, I have to do it this turn, but I have to start preparing.
I think the fans understand what you're saying. Yes, because I do have up here, I got the 4th Panzer Division, the 5th is sitting right here, so basically, Germany has 2 big divisions, and they're making their way to the front line right now. And then sitting here in the dreaded city, we've got, he's got
a lot.
12. I got 17 defense points sitting in here. So, the British are going to have to start mounting.
Yeah, I gotta start doing
big counterattack.
I can't just hang out. I gotta do something. I don't know what it is yet, but I'll think of something.
I suspect what he needs to do. This is where we go into true desert warfare, where I think you have to start thinking about. Well, obviously, you have to take the city. That's the concern. But maybe the British try to go south into the desert to try to start. Like what Bryce did earlier. Now, granted, it was only like a 2 impulse delay, but try to get the Axis out of supply that are really far in front. I don't know. We're going to see. We're going into game turn 7, so we'll see how the strategy goes. But the British, looking over at the card, they get a lot of guys in. Whereas I'm looking over at my card, most of those guys are upgrades and a bunch of Italian chumps. Like, who the hell is this? A 1, 2, 3. Who are these guys? They're called chumps. But I got them. So, hey, at least it's a counter on the map, right? So, that's where we stand. I mean, I'm now really appreciating this game a lot more. As I told Bryce when I came over, I mean, I'm big into military history. Heck, I graduated with a degree from North Texas with that. But I've never really understood the North Africa campaign. So over this week, I was watching a lot of YouTube history things about the campaign in North Africa and got a greater appreciation of this very specific front. And I think it's actually playing out better than Rommel ever envisioned at this point, which is the June 2nd turn. So we'll see what happens, though. I mean, obviously, Bryce is going to have some devious plans to stymie me. But this whole thing about El Alamein, the last cube.
No,
how
here?
Well, how in the hell am I supposed to get all the way over there?
Well, you're supposed to move faster, dude.
I'm moving as fast as I can. You know, I am a big proponent of the send it strategy.
I know, but Rommel was all about speed.
Well, he was, but then he had political considerations and everything. The other thing, watching all those deep dives into history, was that sometimes we think of Rommel as some, like, Supremo General or something. He was just like a lieutenant general. I mean, they sent Pallas down there, famous from the 6th Army in Stalingrad a year later or 2 years later. He was just a junior lieutenant. I mean, he was under the command of the Italians, and OKH under Halder hated Rommel. I mean, but then again, the scale of the game is we're not talking grand armies like the 6th Army. Rommel basically was just in charge of like 2 divisions invading over here. So it's just interesting looking at history, and it gives me a greater appreciation of Mark's deep dive into the history of making this game. So what do you think, Press?
I think that I got work to do. I got to figure out how to get some
work to
airfields
do.
back. I got to get some airfields back.
Well, yeah, you do. But I'm going to do my damnedest to get my big boys over there. Because, yeah, this whole Tobruk thing, whatever, dude. I'm not even worried about it anymore, actually. Now that I kind of figured out what's going on. So I think that's the ultimate lesson of this specific game is if you play the German player, if you're playing Germany, do not make like, oh, it's Tobruk or that's it. It's over. If I don't take it, it's over. If you're the British player, you make it so that it's like this. You basically just tie up all the Italians, and then here's where the game's going to be fought. The early part of the game is, this is where the battle's fought, but I think over the next couple turns when we do these videos, we're going to find the whole battle is here and see what happens. So
yeah, so the first battle of El Alamein was in basically the month of July. And we're in June. So basically the war was here in the next two turns.
The first battle of El Alamein was next turn. Germany was in that little white dot right there in the middle. Point it out, Bryce.
Right here.
They were right there. Well, obviously, unless the next 2 turns, I take the send it strategy to a next level of craziness, that ain't happening. But we'll see what happens. So, but I think this is where we're going to leave it, guys, because it is late. It's almost midnight now. So Bryce and I will be back for turn 7 and beyond. Talk to you guys later.